trying to find the mute button here. Where are we at?
And we're back.
All right, we're here. Almost on time. All right, let's go down, everybody. Brandon from In-House. Another Thursday. We got a really cool guest coming on. Actually, in this particular Thursday, we got Shark Mouse. As always with this, we got Twisted up in the corner there. We got Lit here, and then Bone. Spooky and Tina will probably be in at some point, but we're gonna get this thing started. So let's kick this off real quick. Take a quick second, Shark Mouse, and introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you guys, wanting to have me on and talk a little bit. My name's Shark Mouse Farms, as you mentioned. For those of you that don't know, I run an educational cultivation platform where my entire goal is to drive data-driven cultivation exclusively off the peer-reviewed science that's available to us. And I try to do that in a manner that's both relatable and executable right now. So every time I come out and I post a video, the hope is that you're able to go to your garden right now and do something that will, help elevate your cultivation experience moving forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, because the way this works, like in the social media, you do obviously a lot over on Instagram. You're starting to move over to X, where I think a lot of people are moving over. We've had debates in the past. We've had discussions. I follow your pages. I've been a fan and kind of watching your work and watching that evolution over the years, which has been awesome to see. And I'm really actually pretty excited to start digging into this conversation and getting into the side of like I guess what we start this off with would be is it's a lot of work to just to maintain a tent or to maintain a grow, but you take it above and beyond that. You bring in and you make your own content. You're constantly putting educational stuff out to the world. I just got to kind of ask you, where do you find the extra time? Because you must be efficient as hell, because that's a lot of work that doesn't. I notice it because sometimes I'll literally run out of time during the day, but it seems like you must be nonstop, go, and that takes a very, very passionate person to be like that.
So as I alluded to before, one of my favorite things, or I guess one of my passions, or what drives me is sort of puzzle solving. Not even necessarily, I love cultivation. It's what wakes me up in the morning. I don't need an alarm to get up and be ready to go to work. It's just something I feel the need and compelled to do. But with that being said, it's not necessarily a lot of people think, or what a lot of people are in cultivation for, specifically on the home side, is, at the end of the day, we're going to have, fantastic flower and get to be proud of the work that I put in. But the flower is obviously the goal. For me, that's not really ever been the goal. The goal is understanding the physiology, the biology behind what's happening in the plant. So when I started doing this, I had really no access to answers, right? You would search the internet, and we had Reddit and Roll It Up 420 forums and, various other sort of back and forth communication with other growers, but very little access to standardized data from a scientific perspective. So when I had a problem with my plants and I'd go ask one of these forums, you'd get 1,000 different answers, and you'd have to sort of pick which one sounded best to you without any context of why that answer made sense to whatever your problem was. And that's that's where I fall in love with the process, is understanding the why to the what. So if you give me a metric for this is what you should be hitting at this stage of growth, I don't care about what that end number is. I want to understand what are the functions and processes happening inside the plant that make that number make sense in context of what we're doing, right? So, you know, you can tell me that this is the EC number that your plants need to hit at this stage. Why that versus this is the answer that I'm looking for. And what I came to found is that a lot of people resonate with that. They want to understand what they're doing as opposed to being given a standardized recipe that's been handed down from so on and so on and so forth to try and achieve results that aren't replicable because the context of their grow is entirely different from the recipe they received from somebody else, right?
Yeah, I can relate to that in a sense because it's about the journey, not necessarily the destination. Because when you look at a cumulative of ideas and the way that people do stuff, and if you're just figuring it out, you're learning yourself or in the process, you kind of take the good parts of things, then you kind of develop your own style, your own method. And it may seem impractical to others, but the thing is, the only thing that matters is if it works for you. And the way that you're able to, to find that is one, trial and error, and then looking at something going, why is it like that? Why am I encountering this, or why am I having this issue, or that, so on and so on. And then you start and you embark on finding those answers to the questions that you pose to yourself, and that's kind of basically, a grower in a nutshell is like this plant is very humbling. You're always learning. You're always striving to be better and get better. And just when you think you have it dialed in, she humbles you right out the gate,
And I think that's what drives me right there, is that there's always a standard to measure myself against, right? Yesterday I was here. What did I learn today that helped me move from that position to here? And you can take that as granular as you want, because every time you introduce a new variable, specifically with cultivation, 10 more different things pop up. And now you can learn from this one and learn from this one and learn from this one. So, I think that would be the same way I approached anything I decided to do in life. It just so happens that this one offers me the most value as far as my ability to feel engaged with what I'm doing, right? Every day I'm able to measure a new benchmark I've hit because I've learned this that I didn't know yesterday. And it's given me a whole new avenue to explore based on how my methodology's been inputted this entire time, right? Now, maybe this is the way I do stuff, and how will that impact me going forward? And that's kind of what I've always chased. And I find that, being able to distill complex ideas about what's happening in those plants allows other people to start their own journey into a more granular understanding of what they're doing, right? The huge barrier to entry here is how complex it seems from the outside looking in. And, as a brand new grower, somebody who's never put a seed in the ground, if you came to my page and looked at it as a whole, you'd say, well, Drybacks and PWEC and VWEC, and it's all a lot. That's a huge barrier to entry for somebody new, right? But if we break it down into small little chunks, and I'm explaining, osmotic pressure to you like a sponge, and now you're like, oh, that makes sense. And, I can apply that in my garden right now on my next watering. Maybe I'll only water X amount instead of flooding it just because I want the thing saturated. And now all of a sudden they're starting this process. Okay, well, my watering's improved. How do I improve the environment to help that? And they become enthralled by that whole pull, that whole process that got me in the first place. So I like to think of myself as just an on-ramp to the same journey that I found myself on.
I think some people trick themselves, because if like when you see a lot of these people and a lot of their content, and you get into like halfway through and not go back to the catalog, this is like one of the reasons why I think removing pages off of social media is very detrimental, is because it takes away from a bigger part of a bigger story. So like it's kind of like when people come in and they find in your page and it's fairly new, but they're not sure about the previous ones. You lost a lot of content. It'd be the same as grabbing a book off the shelf and starting in the middle of it and start reading it and trying to figure out what you're reading, what before that. instead of being able to start on the first chapter. But also too, I think it's great because people will start to seek out, and then they'll find something like whether they're going to move in and they're going to shift into say deep water culture or living soil or something like that. There's now these content creators or people out there making really great educational information that's kind of explaining it step by step by step. But yeah, I think that's one of the things that's really in hindsight, or as when the history is we've lost a lot of work, we've lost a lot of good content and educational stuff and references and all that just by our pages being taken down and removed and deplatformed and that type of stuff.
Why everybody's switching over to X.
From a personal perspective, like, and you've been through it. The only person I know that maybe matches how many times you've been deleted is Mango, and that's those are astronomical numbers. I don't, the amount of determination it takes to push through each one of those to try and claw back again to reach some of the audience that you had prior to the last time you got deleted and the last time. It's demoralizing and it's frustrating, and there's a lot there. I've only lost 2 pages, and each time I've said, I can't do this anymore, I quit. And each time I find myself, just slowly digging my way out. But one of the ways that I like to try and educate, and I think is valuable, less so from the perspective that you're talking about, but simply from a retention standpoint, but it also helps with this problem specifically, is I try not to teach in like a linear, this is step A, this is step B, this is step B. I'll throw random stages at you and random functions from mid-flower, and then we'll hop back into veg and how to increase, leaf photoplasticity, and then we'll go back to ripening the next day. And the point of that isn't one to jumble anybody or to throw anybody off, but the point is that when you hear that specific topic or function that I'm trying to lay out for you as simple as possible, you might not need it right now in your journey. You might not even be there in your journey. But when you get there, all of these little tidbits you'll have heard me talking about. And as your sort of experience builds up, when you get to that point where whatever I was talking about is now relevant in your day-to-day methodology, it won't be like starting from scratch. Oh, now I've got to learn this whole thing. You'd be like, oh, I remember him talking about that. And we just now we just got to refresh ourselves on what Sharkmost was talking about 6 months ago. When I heard it, I retained it, didn't really need it, but now it's sort of there and it's in recall. And I find that to be very helpful, not only for me, but from the feedback I get from a lot of my followers that, oh, I didn't really need that piece of information right then and there, but now I'm drying and all of a sudden I remembered your reel and it all made sense to me. So it helps because, even if you are just jumping in right now and you've never seen my page before, you pick a reel and I try to do a good enough job that it's engaging enough for you to just sort of sit and watch what's happening and kind of pick up the information in the periphery without sort of knowing that you're studying a textbook basically. And that's the entire goal, right?
You're getting people to kind of bookmark it, so they might not be at that step, or they might not be prepared for that, or they've not got to that point in their journey. And then when they come up against it, they recall like, oh yeah, I've seen a video. I know I know where to reference. I can kind of go back to that. Also, too,
them in.
What's that?
We're just sort of seeding them in little by little, and as they grow and they're ready to be there, those little seedlings that they learned will be there, ready to flourish for their deep dive into that particular subject.
Yeah, well, I think it's refreshing because there's a number of people that are just like you that really take the time and go through the content, like right off the top of my head, like ICANN and those type, ICANN, THC, and a few of those folks, where they really, you can feel in the videos how passionate they are about what they're doing, and just the general like wanting to be helpful and be the best at that as possible, And so that's why I think that the stuff that you do in particular is what I find really fascinating and awesome is you keep pushing the envelope. Just because you might see the ceiling doesn't mean that the ceiling is necessarily there. Like I was kind of watching and paying close attention to the tissue culture and the TC and that journey. And you start off with the regular, like how everybody else does with the simple agar, and it just kind of, now you're doing something that's I have never seen before. You know, so you want to talk a little bit about that, just on what made you decide to kind of, you know, up your game a bit and move in that direction. I mean, obviously it's the natural progression, but what made you decide to kind of make that jump a little bit?
So again, I think with anything I do, it's just I'm never satisfied with the fact that I've done what has been done. I want to get to what's been done, and I want to figure out how it's been done. And now that we've done it, how can we make it? I'm basically the Tim the Toolman Taylor of anything I try to accomplish. You know, how can we add more power? So when it came to the TC in general, you know, I lost my page. I realized that, you know, growing to 90,000 people with a cannabis account on Instagram was going to be impossible, considering, you know, those 90,000 followers, they came before those green check marks showed up or whatever, right? And as soon as that happened, we all stopped getting followers almost instantaneously. Everybody that was on our feed would see us, but nobody else. So when my page got deleted, here I am with a page that had 400 followers or something, Shark Mouse the second. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how am I going to get any of these people back? You know, I could pivot and do motorcycle content. Awesome. Now I'm building basically from zero, and I've got to compete with that entire world. Or I could do something I know and stick to plants. What's something that very few people are doing that a lot of people can very well relate to, as seeing, you know, the importance of tissue culture to our industry and what it will be moving forward. I can still maintain that plant niche that's in a Instagram safe area, and try to accumulate some of those people with, you know, with a new sort of ideology that we can also do this while maintaining our passion for plants, because it's in a directly related field that directly correlates to what we're doing. And not only that, it helps advance our goals in the tent or the rooms or the facilities or whatever, by virtue of maintaining, you know, phenotype stability, reduced veg room costs, multiplication capabilities, all of the advantages we see in tissue culture. I saw a connection there where even home growers who, you know, I know a lot of home growers who do pheno hunting personally at home and are running 30, 60 moms. It's a lot of work, right? Like it'd be awesome if you could just take all of that work and condense it down into a small manageable shelf that you don't have to touch for 3 to 6 months at a time until you're ready to run. Oh, today I'd like to run, you know, whatever you pick up off the shelf. So that to me was instantaneously and very naturally and organically the next right move for me. I love plants. I love science. I love getting very molecular with things. So from a personal and passion standpoint, it was the right move. And from you know, from a marketing standpoint, as selfishly as you want to call it, again, it was the right move, because I was able to reconnect with 40,000 of the people, or you know, a portion of the 90,000 people I had previously, because it was still cannabis plant content, while bringing in an entirely new audience based on the fact that I was still recommendable on Instagram, and plus that, you know, it's aesthetically pretty cool content, just based on the fact that we've got, you know, glass jars and neon lights and all these sort of fun things to look at visually. So I think it was just a very natural progression for me to make that move. And once I got inside the lab, you know, my wheels just started turning, and why this, why that, why, and everything was just a more granular breakdown of each step. Why am I doing this, and how can we make improvements on each process?
And that's similar to us. Like, we do stuff that's out of necessity. So that was the next natural step, was to get into tissue culture. It's quite the learning curve. Very disciplined. There's a lot to it. I like the fact that when I watch your videos, it's kind of misleading, because you make it look like it's really easy. But it's, like I said, it is a process. It takes a lot of discipline. But that was the kind of the same thing is we were running out of real estate, and you know, kind of needed to be able to shelve stuff and all that. was excited about tissue culture, got a little naive and was like, oh, maybe we could do it for other people, this and that, and realized that's just opening another can of worms that I don't really want to deal with and get into. But I think with what you're doing, I think you're going to find home growers that are going to gravitate towards you and go, hey, I got these seeds from 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm afraid to try to pop them to ruin them. Can you maybe help me get can you help me get the pop, right? Because then you can do what is in vitro, right? Or I think, in my opinion, I think the solution to a lot of the viruses and, like right now, HLVD is a big deal, all that. I think the cure or I think the answer to that and basically the eradication of that is going to be through people like yourself and all that are taking the next initial step to find and discover, like, oh, we can fix shit. We don't need to. You don't need to have a $20 million lab, right? You need a clean room and a basement to really get some shit done. I think.
Sorry, finish, please.
No, go ahead.
One of the biggest issues we have, obviously, in general across the board in home cultivation is, clone banks that are sending dirty cuts around the world back and forth, and it's getting out of hand, obviously. What feels like an insurmountable issue based on the diagnostics and the numbers that we see coming out of testing facilities where 25% of seeds are infected and wild numbers like that, when the fact of the matter is I can take a meristematic sample of a dirty cut, we can subculture that no more than 3 times and outrun the virus cleanly, and we've got your sample restored and cleaned, in a matter of 8 weeks at best. And that, while that the process,
and see that attitude and that logic is amazing, for the simple fact that what it does is it accomplishes a bunch of stuff. It keeps people, one, it keeps their sanity, but also it keeps the genetics alive. You know how many genetics that we've lost through prohibition, through bust, or having to shut down a grow, or for a number of reasons we all have our prize list that we lost along the way, right? Where now this type of action and what the things that you're doing is now paving the way where people can now take self-empower and go, oh shit, okay, yeah, you know what, maybe I can invest a bit in into my hobby here, or to my passion, or to my therapy, or however you want to frame it, and and preserve stuff so I don't have to necessarily lose things. But it's going to be really important going in the future, where I think that the future is going to be getting your plants in a vial, in a culture, so it's absolutely clean, pest and bug free and virus free.
So, like, for example, I think especially for boutique breeders and some of the smaller operations that don't necessarily have access to multiple 1,000-square-foot facilities, you could send a one single node, right, and have that nodal explant sit in vitro for up to a year in cold storage, just having that pheno ready to roll for multiplication. Okay, Shark, I need a room with 1,000 of those cuts. I take those explants and I multiply them, and in a matter of a month, I can, you've got a box of vials that contain 1,000 cuts that need to be hardened in 3 days. They're rooted and ready to roll, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
the process of streamlining the reset of a room, or a specific pheno in a room, with the low overhead infrastructure is game changing as far as I'm concerned, on small scale and large scale, right? So we'll use Relentless Genetics had that cut of Trop Cherry number 8 a few years back. It was just like the pinkest thing anybody's ever seen, right? But that was he had literally one pheno of that, and eventually over time it got lost, right? And now there's a bunch of Trop Cherries running around, but that one in particular could have sat in a vial. I could have taken 10 cuts of it, 10 explant samples, and from those 10 explant samples I could have had 4 million X-plant sitting in a vial by now, just based on the exponential multiplication factor of how I'm going to say easy, but how unintrusive it is to multiply a clean pheno in such a small amount of square footage with such low overhead.
Yeah, because I think because one thing I'm fearful of is we're about to have this big, huge onslaught of studies done by the NIH. There's a Canadian agency. It escapes my brain at the moment. There's a lot of studies that's been going down in Israel of the cannabinoids and particular strains and what cannabinoids are inside of those strains, right? And what I'm afraid of is going. What's that?
Guelph University is doing a big one right now as well.
Yeah, and so what I'm afraid of is eventually coming across a unicorn strain that has a really good makeup content, which is a kind of a one and done thing, so you don't have to get into mixing oils or whatnot, etc. But my point is I'm afraid of us finding a unicorn and then losing it because we forgot to clone it or whatnot, and I think at some point on a home grower scale and this level, there's going to have to be some sort of trusted, vested situation where you can store stuff that you've hunted. There is a way to shelve stuff so that way it's not what you need for your well-being at the moment because you got something that else is helping you, but you have it on a shelf somewhere, or you have it somewhere stored for you in case you want to come back to that. Because I think that as this progresses with any luck, we're going to kind of realize that cannabis isn't necessarily medicinal, more than it's nutritional in that frame. Because medicinal in its nature means that it's a synthetic, right? So medications and
also meant to treat specific symptoms as opposed to function as we were discussing earlier as a unified function of a whole system that includes nutrition. Mm-hmm. And exercise and well-being and all and water and all of the good stuff.
Yeah, so that's what I mean is as we start looking at this basically this tiered cake is what you got is you got somebody that starts off with putting a light in a closet, right? And then as you start going up to the top, you got people now growing and basically culturing, right? Then you're now understanding the cannabinoid systems, and then now shifting and understanding what those cannabinoids do to the body and how they interact with the body, and being able to understand that and read these studies and then share that information with people. So you see what I think that that's why we're so passionate about home growers and maintaining this is because this is the only avenue we have to kind of protect ourselves from not getting bent over in the future by pharma and getting told that you need to buy it and you need to have this prescription, like as an example, a seizure medication that's just CBD and sugar water. They tell you can't make your own because it's not as good as this, even though it's the exact same thing. So you need to pay $40,000 instead of growing it yourself and remedying yourself.
Great. Absolutely. So one of the huge factors in TC is genetic stability when compared to traditional cuts, right? We're not seeing nearly the same level of abiotic mutation that you do from physically wounding the plant or physically wounding a mature plant in order to produce those replicates. Clones are a very close match to abiotic factors aside. Obviously, clones are a very good match to the donor plant, but there's going to be some genetic anomalies that occur as you take those cuts, as the wound response in each individual cut signals various hormones at various different ratios and levels. So every time you take a clone from the plant, you're getting a slightly different genetic profile. Whereas when, like, for example, one of my videos, I had a callus on one of my X plants that I could take 100,000 different samples from that would produce a genetically homogeneous sample across the board. So I think that's one of the most important parts.
And I think also with that coming on board, and then we're it's not a matter of if, it's when interstate commerce and all of that. It's far easier, and in a box, you can fit, 20,000 samples in a shipping box. Imagine trying to transport 20,000 clones, right? That everything makes sense into where into that direction and where it's going. But
without
also,
any of those environmental pressures either, right? It's like it's like
yep.
shipping fresh produce, right? If you got a truck produce from California to Ontario, Canada, right? You've got to, not only do you have to spray ethylene on those fruits to keep them from ripening or whatever, but there's also, they've got to be harvested earlier to enable them to ripen on the truck, as opposed to from tree to market where they would in California. Same way as this, right? If you're shipping out clones, they've got to survive that journey one way or another. If you're shipping them from California to Michigan, right? Are we sure that the UPS truck is climate controlled? Are they getting irrigated when necessary based on how long the trip is taking? How are they being handled? Versus, like you said, a glass test tube in a styrofoam in a styrofoam Pelican case with a cool pack that's taking up no more than 2 by 2 square feet.
And also, too, that tube is sealed, right? So it's got its own sealed in type of environment. But also when you're transporting clones, I mean, I've had numerous clones over the years, right, show up in the mail, and some of them make them, some of them don't. But also too, there's a lag, right? There's it's got to readjust to a whole completely new environment. It doesn't matter. Like, as an example, my environment is far different than Lit's, and Lit's on the East Coast, So when I send him clones, right? He's like, oh, it kind of drops back and lags a little bit. In fact, Boneyard lives right down the road from me, and I gave him some clones. He brought them into his place, and they just didn't like it, and it took a minute for them to kind of acclimate and bounce back out of it. Where I think that the cultures, that's the best way to give them the best start and give them the best start in life. Moving forward is.
The other huge aspect of that is there's no quarantine period for cultures, because they're coming in clean, guaranteed, right, from a sterile environment. They're pre-sterilized, and they, especially if we're getting a meristematic sample that's been grown out, there's no we've got to leave these in quarantine for seven days to ensure there's no bugs, there's no PM, there's no whatever. You get your sample, you pop it out, harden it, and off you go. Your room's ready to roll.
So you want to take a quick second? We got somebody from the chat. They said they've heard of tissue samples, but they don't understand how that turns into a plant. And so you can just kind of cover that real quick.
Right. So there's a number of types of samples you can take. You can take just a simple nodal explant, which is taking one node from the plant. Inside those nodes, there's meristematic samples that will replicate based on the hormonal ratio you provide them inside the agar. So inside the agar, there's everything the plant needs, and it doesn't take up the nutrients through roots like a conventional clone would. It's actually diffusing those nutrients from the agar into the actual plant cells itself from where you made the cut, right? So where you take a cut from lower branch, you take one little node. It can be no more than a centimeter long with just the node protruding, no leaf material. You clean off all the leaf material. We sterilize the sample, and then we put it into the sterile media, and the sugars and the hormones from the media that we placed inside the agar will diffuse into the plant cells itself, feeding the plant cells. And the cells inside the plant will do whatever you sort of dictate they do based on the type of hormone and the ratio you put in. So, you can either go heavy on the auxin or heavy on the cytokinins, depending on if you want them to, if you want the shoots to multiplicate, or you want to root that sample. If we root that sample, you'll start to see the actual sample root like a normal clone will. The roots will come in, and the plant will start to produce leaves and grow like a normal plant. At that point, we literally just pop it out of the agar, put it into your rock wool or your soil, and you let that acclimate to its new environment for a little. It's called hardening off, generally like you would with a clone dome, and then it just grows normally from there. But the process from actually taking a nodal sample and either inducing shoot elongation or rooting is generally about 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the environmental conditions and the amount of hormones, the type of hormones, and the application we're trying to accomplish, the sample size, and so on. But it's basically just cells dividing over and over and over, and based on the hormones that we provide them, it's giving them the physiological instruction of where they should be replicating those cells.
Yeah, and then also too, when you speak of, when you're talking about agar, right? Because agar is the gelatin kind of sugar that it sits in.
Right.
But you can also there's other mediums that you can go into. I saw that you for a little bit there you were working with the carbon, right? Yeah. And then recently there was, what was it, Jello?
Jello, yeah, regular Jello. Grape. I think it was grape I used. Grape flavor.
What flavor did you use?
Grape. I think it was grape. It was on sale when I went to get it too. Yeah, so a lot of the mixtures are based in are entirely experiential, based on whoever's working with those samples, and a lot of it I have found is trial and error with what that specific cultivar tends to do best in. The charcoal, for example, is really good at pulling additional PGRs out of the sample once we've got them to root. So it's good at pulling out the auxin, the additional auxins and cytokinins that we've pumped into there, so that they do start to have a normal growth physiology. They're also good at handling some of the ethylene output that helps slow down the necrosis that we see inside. Sometimes we'll see browning or glassing of the leaves inside the test tubes themselves. So that's a result of ethylene production inside the sealed glass containers, and the carbon helps pull that out of the plant physically and just sort of holds on to it till we're ready to get those rooted. So there's a lot of different amendments we can add to our medium to help based on what our application is and what that cultivar is. But because it's a relatively new space for us in cannabis specifically, you'll find that a lot of the people working in tissue culture are doing a lot of experimenting with their medium and their inputs in those mediums to see what works best. And this is a very data logging heavy field for sure, because I got a lot of notebooks downstairs. So this is one of them. So essentially what I'm doing here is I'm taking what would be a clone and I'm cutting it into each node, like I'm separating them at the nodes. I'm putting it into bleach here, and once it's bleached and taken out, that agar and everything I'm working under is very sterile. So I'm working under the flow hood. The sample's been sterilized. Everything I'm working with in the sample has been put into the autoclave to ensure that we're trying to introduce this ideally zero biological material into the agar, so that just because anything you put in there biologically will have the exact intended effect that we're trying to have with the plants, which is multiplicate cells, right? So if we introduce bacteria there,
if you're not sterile, the tube, you'll start growing cultures, of mold and whatever that transfers in. That's why sterile environment is crucial.
Yeah, and like you alluded to earlier, like I make it look relatively easy here. In reality, this whole process from taking the plant, getting into the lab, getting everything sterilized and cleaned and sampled up takes about 2.5 hours from start.
There's the great Jello. Love it.
Yeah, but what I mean by that though is like if you're not familiar with it and you're in anything you're not familiar with and you see it done, it looks really easy, and then once you get into it, you're like, oh, okay, there's a bit more to this than I thought. But once you get an understanding and once you figure it out yourself, then it becomes easy for you, right? Or because once you do something a number of times, you become good at it, and then you kind of perfect what you're doing. But what I like is the presentation though, is it's kind of like a sneak peek in what somebody can do, right? Because what you are is you have a space that you converted in your house because you felt this is my next progression, this is my next step, this is my next thing. And so I think it's also when people look at that, they strive for that as well too. They may get there, they may not get there, but it gives them something going, wow, there's so much more to this. And I often hear that in the comment section and talking to people when they realize, when they go, oh man, I didn't quite know that, or they learned something new or something like that. And then it kind of expands them. And then, it keeps the progression moving forward.
So I left 4 lights in that room, 4 overhead LED Grandmaster lights in that room because, well, one, obviously it's aesthetically appeasing for the videos, but I think it helps remind people that this was a grow room before, right? Like, it's not like I had to go, get a whole new sea container and engineers to come in. Like, this was just a place I grew my plants, and now I threw in an autoclave, and I threw in a flow hood and a couple other things that I'd need for this room. But it wasn't a super complex thing to accomplish going from one to the next. And I think, despite how complicated the room looks, it just sort of, it goes to show that, you were capable of building a grow room. You're certainly capable of making a few fold out tables with a flow hood and a autoclave.
I think it's one of those things too, that people that are out there growing, people that are really in the thick of everything and really enjoy this plant, I think they look at it and they're happy, right? Because they're just like, oh, it's something that they're into, right? It gives them a glimpse of, oh, okay, this is the next step. This is something that's coming, something that they get to watch, feel that they're a part of, and it's not gatekeeped, right? Where a lot of other stuff is gatekeeped. Like this is one of the industries that really still relied on, basically snips and clones in the traditional way, where every other agriculture, right, is done through tissue, and even with the hops and orchids and everything else, because we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just now being able to do it.
I'm sure you see and you can also resonate with this very well. The amount of people that feel the need to attack me personally for providing this information simply because it feels threatening to their zealotry and ideology for what they've invested so much time. Well, this is how I've always done things. Like, we can't allow it to move here now. And I think that things are going to evolve naturally one way or another, and having sign up for my course and I'll teach you how to do that doesn't slow the progression any more than it would if you would allow that information out there to help people, right? I reach the amount of people I'm able to reach simply because I try not to gatekeep the information. If somebody wants an answer to something, I hope they know that I'd happily be the one to provide it if I'm able to. So I think,
I didn't mean to cut you off, but I think that's a societal problem. So now, I think some people feel there's like a, whether it's an entitlement or they see what you do and they maybe feel you kind of, they just don't feel right about themselves. So it's easier to attack. You just have the natural progression of people that throw shit out there just to get a reaction and whatnot. It's kind of funny because the vast majority, it comes from a troll account or an account that somebody don't want to use their real name, right? Like we've had this discussion before. I don't have troll accounts. The reason why is because if I say something or if I comment something, I want you to know that I said it, right? And but there's just some people that they just want to see the world burn, or they feel that they might know more than you, which in some cases might be the case, but rather than collaborating or reaching out and going, oh, hey, this is what I do, this is what you do, it's more like, oh, what, who does this person think they are? You do have some people that, yes, they, at one point, what was it, $500 or $1,000 just to run your plant through culture, right? We did have a genetic scam there for a while where get your plant genetically tested and mapped out, and they tried to sell that to Monsanto. This I mean, like I said, it's a shitty world. But the nice part is you're reaching a vast majority of the people that really are on your side and supporting you and really excited for the content that you're putting out and that you continue to put out. And so it's better to kind of look at that and focus on that and then adapt to that. Like, for instance, I got sick and tired of dealing with Instagram. So I was like, I'll periodically check on it, or, like, I can't return any messages on it. I can't post on it. Like, Instagram has got me like shadow banned and everything. So I just kind of moved over to X, and that's where I live. And X is a completely different beast. If you're gaining followers on X, you're doing a great job, because a lot of accounts stay stagnant there because it's a wholly completely different beast. You gotta be interactive. You got to be contributing. You got to kind of be fluid a little bit. It's just a little bit different over there. Like, I joke around and say Instagram is like Disneyland. Twitter's like outside Chicago in the middle of the summer.
So I think one thing that I've learned for sure is that my approach is very confident, and that rubs people. You either love my approach or you absolutely hate it, and there's very few in between. And a lot of that stems from how confidently I present myself. The reason I present myself confidently is I will never, ever provide a video or information or contextualize an idea that I didn't sit here at this table and read relentlessly about for 6 hours ahead of time and verify the information through NIH and Frontiers of Plant Science and go through all of the conflicting data that may be associated with that particular idea that I'm trying to present. None of this is my idea. None of this is my opinion. None of this is my anecdotal experience. This all comes from what has been proven in science, and I'm just presenting that data. So when I do, I have a pretty strong confidence that I'm right about what I'm talking about, and I present it that way, and that helps give me an air of authority to a number of people, but it also helps alienate me from another group of people. Now, what I will say about that is it's a self-correcting system, because I love being wrong. And I know that might come off as disingenuous, but I have a real reason why I love being wrong. It's because I hate being wrong, and if I'm wrong, and I get to know what I'm wrong about, and I can learn how to be right, I don't have to fucking be wrong about that thing anymore, right? So I'm happy. And as much as, like, sometimes I might be a little like, I can't believe I was fucking wrong about that. I'm never going to stick to that position and try to defend it simply because it was a position I held before. Oh, I was wrong about this. Here's a way to be right about it. This is how I'm moving forward. So I'm not going to be wrong about that again. And now I'm even more confident in my position, right? So that can hit people one way or the other, but I get it. Like, I do understand.
Well, that's the thing too, is if it's actual, I can speak from my experience. It's the fear of being wrong, but I'm not afraid of being wrong. Now, I've gotten stuff wrong, or I was inaccurate on something, and then that's why I like the feedback, right? The actual feedback where people kind of will hit you off, and then you got to rethink it, and then you got to double check it. And if you're still like, no, I'm confident, and no, I think I'm still right. Like, I've had stuff where I've had to go back and kind of, wait, am I off a little bit? And then you come back to the conclusion, like, no, I'm pretty spot on with that, But instead of somebody, coming and going, hey, that's where I think you're wrong, and having a discussion about it, it's like, shut your mouth. You don't know what you're talking about. Who in the hell do you think you are? I just want to kind of remind you and everybody else, and think of it this way, is like, I can speak from a personal experiences. We're part of a lot of people's journey, and we're part of a lot of people's growth journey. I've met so many people at these events and all around the country, and being able to talk to these people and realize that I don't know them, but there's still this solid connection that when we take time and we do these spaces and we do these podcasts and we go on these other podcasts and we talk about this passion, there's a lot of people that are listening and wanting to learn and really look forward to this stuff. And so it kind of makes all those other dark parts and those shitty parts mute, right? They no longer exist. Like, when I was going into this new year, I was like, yeah, I'm going to have a completely different look, and I'm going to focus on the people that are here because they want to be here and want to move forward, because we have a pretty big fight. You're up there in Canada, we're down here in the States, but we have a pretty big fight ahead of us on multiple fronts, And what connects all of us is this plant. They're trying to steal it. And if we sleep on it, they're going to steal it from us. And then they're going to sell it back to us at 1,000 times the rate, you know, and then they're going to call it medicine.
Less. Yeah, exactly. 1,000 times.
And
less.
it's not going to be nearly as effective. You know, I have this theory that if cannabis was actually as bad as they claim it is, it would be legal. It would be legal tomorrow because they would want you to be sick because they're going to sell you more medication. They look at everything that's on the market, you know. So, but that's where I think I just want to kind of give you a reminder because it does get under your skin every once in a while. It is annoying. It does suck because it's a combination of algorithms and people hating on the accounts that get them taken down. I just say keep moving forward and don't stop what you're doing because people are watching you. People are coming to get content and you know you're part of their story. You're part of their journey as well too.
One, like you said, based on the position I come from, that of being, you know, trying to have my data as rock solid as possible. When I post something, I'm bringing 3 peer-reviewed receipts with me, right? So there's a few arguments you can go back on my internet with these people who are like, no, you're wrong or not, and we'll get into a long, drawn-out debate. But again, I'm proud of those. Like I'll pin them to the top because I'll eat you alive when it comes to an argument, simply because I know what my position is, and I'm very well versed in that position, and I wouldn't hold it if I didn't know what it was. So to an algorithm perspective, by all means, please keep arguing with me because I'll keep going with you all day long, like until it feels like I'm getting dragged into a looped in nowhere discussion.
Never ending.
Right?
Well, somebody told me something one time. They said, don't argue with stupid people because they'll drag you down to their level and beat the shit out of you. Yep. And it's kind of stood with me. Like as an example, I'm really a proponent for like, let's agree to disagree and we'll move on to the next thing because that keeps an open door. Like as an example, the way that one of the first interactions we had, we were in a heated exchange debate in the DMs. It didn't get rude. We weren't cussing at each other. Like I looked at my phone every once in a while. I was like, this motherfucker, you got to be shitting me, right? You know. But what it was when it was all said and done, it was a good debate. And it was like, hey, look, we agree on some stuff, we disagree on other. Let's agree to disagree, and then let's pick this up at another time when there was another topic after that, right? And that's how it should be.
Not only that, you were, because of the way that discourse went, you actually were able to shift my perspective on some of the things that, you know, I maybe had not seen when we had initially started that discussion. And, you know, you said, there was points where it was contentious and we were borderline arguing back and forth, but it never got disrespectful. It never got argumentative, so to say. But it was a great discussion, is what it was, from 2 different perspectives, and those are my absolute favorite, especially with people who are, you know, very knowledgeable in what they're talking about. I see something from one perspective. A great example of what you said before is, you know, we're part of people's journeys, whether we know it or not. When I started my internet journey, you were my benchmark, like you in particular. You know, I was a nobody on. I reached out to you once on my birthday, and I had like I think 200 followers or something, and you know, nobody knew who I was or what I was doing. And I said, "Yo, you're one of my favorite breeders of all time." And I appreciate your work, and you shared me on your stories, and it was one of the biggest deals I'd ever experienced in social media. You know what I mean? Here I am sitting with you, and hopefully one day somebody that looks up to me the same way, I'll be sitting here having that conversation with, and it should be a reciprocal thing, right?
Look, the thing is we've always been that way. So like, for instance, from the early years, it was always about the people. It was never about us. The only reason why I'm even popping up on screens and all that is because I know that we have a big fight. We have the ability to kind of sway and change minds and, you know, kind of be a steward of the plant. We couldn't sit behind the screen anymore, if that makes sense, right? But our whole thing was you growers are what drives all this. You guys are the most important thing. That's why it's your pictures that are going up. It's you hit us up and you share your work. It's going on because we're going to show the people that respect us and the people that follow us. You know, that's who we are. It's like we're humble enough to know where we came from, and we're also humble enough to know the position that we're in and not take it for granted. And so, you know, we've had that. We all when we first started out, kind of the same thing. We were ignored. Basically you're discounted, which is just a normal kind of thing in anything. And then we started getting traction, and then we ended up being a turd in the punch bowl. Yeah, the punch is good, but you don't, now you got to deal with it, right?
Well,
We're here, right? We've made it, whether you like it or not. That's the way it is. And so that's why I've always been, just kind of practical and understanding, like, in a sense, like I was mentioning in a podcast the other day, was I don't have to like you. We don't have to be friends, but we can work on this plant together, and one, to protect it and move it forward.
the craziest thing to me is the dichotomy that there's three groups of people who obsessively care about good weed, and it's not the dispo, it's not the consumer, it's not the broker, and it's not the facility owner. It's the people who grow the plant, the people who breed the plant, and the people who process the plant. Those three people are the only ones who obsess over how good the plant is. The consumer just wants the cheapest weed, and that's our fault. The broker just wants the best cut. The investor just wants the best return. We're all sitting here. The three of us who care about the weed are all sitting here treating it like some goofy motorcycle club with these dumb arbitrary rules where the only thing that matters is fucking ego.
But I think it's also to do with, like, you're gonna have so for instance, some of the best strains are low yielding strains, and so commercial grows aren't going to do that. That's a perfect avenue for home growers. So if a particular strain, it's a low yield but helps you the most, you should have every right to grow it, no matter where you're at on this planet, because it helps you. It's part of it's part of you. It's help you get to homeostasis, right?
That's your regiment.
But the way the direction's going is like, oh, it's a low yielding strain. We need to, we're not going to put it in a dispo because we're not getting the price point, et cetera, this and that. And it kind of takes away. That's where but I don't think the MSOs and the corporations realize they need the home grower. The home grower is where all the action is, where a lot of the innovation is going to happen. That's where the genetics are going to be stored. That's where the building block of everything starts off of. And you can model this exactly off of the craft brew industry, right? There was a time in this country where there was Coors and Budweiser and this and that. There was no microbrewers, right? There was no other flavors, and this is real similar to that, But
the consumer was left with, that's what you get, take it or leave it, and they're like, okay, until they were given a choice and educated on what their palate could experience, and all of a sudden they started demanding more. And while that also, yes, that drove an influx of amazing craft beers, it also forced those top three to up their game as well. They could no longer sell just garbage watered down cans of beer. They had to come up with fancy micro flavors and I
think that's where we're heading fast. They want to have a corporate pharma capture and then narrow it down to a handful of genetics or strains and go, yeah, this is all you get. You like it or not, no big deal. That's why, like, when legalization first took place here in Washington, there was the 50 to 70-year-old demographic that kept it afloat the first couple of years, because nobody went into the retail. If you were growing it or you knew somebody that grew it or whatever, you're not going to go in there and get that year-old outdoor, 2-year outdoor. But if you didn't have access to it or you weren't in the know, then that was the only way that they could get weed and experience the novelty at the time. But I think as this progresses and we're seeing that, hey, this plant is chocked up full of healing properties that we're only skimming the surface of, and it would be tragic if we end up wiping out 99% of the genetics like they have done to corn. Corn is a prime example of corporate capture on an agricultural product, on a commodity. Monsanto owns 99.9% of the corn on the planet.
Why does 80-year-old Nona's terrace grown tomatoes taste better than anything you're going to buy at the grocery store? And a lot of people will conflate that with cultivation practices sort of at plant level. Oh, well, Nona's is grown organic with compost, and no. We can get into that aspect if you like and have that conversation, but it absolutely has so little to do with cultivation practice and everything to do with selection practice. You know, these companies for decades have been selecting for the biggest fruit possible, entirely ignoring the sugar content of the tomato, because that's not what's driving driving market price. Yield per weight.
Well, think about it this way: there's a big hoopla a couple years ago over the cosmic apple, right?
Yep.
I was
There
just going to
was-
say the Apple thing that was going
There
on.
was 20 or 30 different types of apples that were grown in New York at the turn of the century that would blow the cosmic apple out of the water, right? But it was just, eliminating, because apples became a commodity. I know quite a bit about apples, but it's like, as an example, here in Washington, they were able to corner basically the hops market through patents, and that's how Washington is one of the biggest leaders when it comes to hops production. A lot of people don't know that, but that came via owning patents and pushing everybody else out and curbing the mom and pop, the small operations. We live in America. America dictates what the rest of the world's going to do, and yes, I'm all for capitalism, but what I'm not for is crony capitalism, where okay, we're going to spend $200 million or $1 billion to crush everybody else out so we can enjoy this monopoly.
Yeah, there's no access. There's no access. There's no access for anybody but Monsanto. Like what does it cost to map out the genome sequence of any plant? It's going to be in the millions of dollars for sure, right? Who's got access?
We all have access to buy a Ferrari. Okay, we all have access to live in the same neighborhood as Jeff Bezos, right?
Yep.
However, you don't have the means. You're not in a position, right? That's why I think especially getting into the Schedule 3 shit, is like they just simply slap $100,000 licensing fee by the government, and that wipes out 99% of the whole operation across the board. Kind of think about it this way.
Yeah. Like nothing.
Reason why moonshiners were still moonshining, and there was a TV show about it as far as like 5 or 6 years ago or whatever, is because it cost $250,000 just for the license, just to have a still before you start anything.
Cost that much just for the application.
Exactly, right? So you could be in the Appalachian back hillbilly, right? Making moonshine. Some of the best moonshiners in the world, but they're just priced out of it, and that's where it's going. It doesn't, like, for instance, that's why I say deschedule, let it sort itself out, right? But the MSOs and a lot of these people can't allow that to happen because they can't compete on that level. There's just too many gifted, great people that understand this plant,
If you want,
right? And that's where the problem that they're running into.
If you want to run a micro cultivation license in this country, you've got to have the facility up and running before your application is in and approved. So there's a good chance that you put it all in for nothing. Like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That they set these impossible bars so that way it squeezes you out, and you either go out of business or you sell. Like, as an example, they want to Schedule 3 in order to save some of the bigger conglomerates, because the bigger conglomerates need to be bailed out by a Constellation, the beer manufacturers, right? Or ConAgra, or one of these bigger entities to gobble up this. Now, these valuations at $100 billion, $150 billion, that is chump change on the grand scheme of things when it comes to business. We're talking, just in cannabis alone, you're pushing 100 billion, 100 billion a year, right?
Yeah.
That's going to push up to 200 billion, 250 billion. That's not even counting hemp. Hemp in the next 5 years, if they just cut the leash, it would not only make the United States and Canada leaders in many sectors around the world and manufacturing and innovation, but it would also be a $2 trillion industry, because there's so much stuff that you can do with this plant, right? From its biomass to its fibers to you name it, right? But big business won't allow that to happen, right? Because it puts a lot of strain on a lot of industries that are just milking the shit out of us right now and have a monopoly, and they're afraid to lose it.
So in the unfortunate circumstance where you guys do get scheduled down, being able to take samples of all of your work and just keep them on ice until, you know, you find a spot you can work it in, or whatever the case is going to be massive for the recidivism, you know, we're seeing in the industry based on, you know, people going back to the gray and black market just to sustain themselves because they're being pushed out.
Well, that's why I think it's important for the, especially the censorship to get eliminated. Because, say for instance, I come across and, you know, I'm trying all sorts of fun shit with people that I know that have ailments and this and that. I'm like, oh, hey, we're making some candy, we're making some tinctures. Well, try it out and tell it, you know, report back and see if it's working. We're having a lot of stuff that's working for a lot of people. And I think once we come to determination that, hey, this actually helps people sleep, or this actually calms people down, we're going to share that with our audience. We're going to try to help as many people with that as much as possible, right? But the powers that be and the entities and the direction it's going, it does not want you to do that at all whatsoever, you know? But I think that's like comes back to also with this content is this is why it's really important for you to learn to grow your own, so you're never beholden to a dispensary, or never beholden to a corporation, and never beholden to a pharmaceutical industry, because you can grow this plant, you have the resources, you have the information, and you have the community backing you up in order to do whatever you're facing, and whatever that might be.
So one of my dogs, Mauser, whose namesake for Shark Mouse, she's a genetic epileptic and suffers cluster seizures every couple of months, and she'll have up to 30 in 24 hours. And she's been on phenobarbital, Keppra, a few other sedative medications that are unreasonably expensive considering what they are at a human pharmacy. That being aside, right, the efficacy we see in 30-to-1 full spec CBD, 90 milligrams a day, was higher than either of those sedatives I mentioned. As far as retaining the duration or reducing the duration of the cluster seizure events, but also the time between events. So we saw a higher efficacy with something that I was able to grow in my basement, or would theoretically be able to grow in my basement and process at you know, next to nothing compared to what we're facing with these pharmaceutical sedatives that she's on at, you know, 90 milligrams a day of phenobarbital, which is a very heavy sedative. Like, what's the quality of life compared to the two? One being on a sedative 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, as well as having you know, a higher rate of seizure induction on those sedative medications, versus being able to be her, you know, her jovial dog ass self on CBD oil and having reduced seizure event.
You said 90
mg.
That's what they give people on hospice.
Sure.
Like that's like you know, that's like no, I don't know, that's kind of a lot. I think
that's what I mean.
You
like
said
dog,
30-to-1.
the dog, yeah.
Well, that's the thing that's like, because like, look, when it comes to your pet, that's extremely important. Like, we have an aging dog, started making peanut butter with CBD, started incorporating actually CBG and just a tiny bit of THC to get kind of the entourage effect.
Yep.
And it's night and day. My dog responds to that peanut butter like night and day. You can tell when it's kind of running its course and coming towards the end from the last dose. And then we're talking 10 minutes, 15 minutes. All of a sudden the dog thinks that it's a puppy again, starts kind of jumping around and all that. But seeing that, it's been really, really great, because they're like when it comes to pets, any extra days you get, the better, you know, right? Like, especially dogs. I'm a huge dog person. And so as much as I can do or help that, you know, the better. But it's kind of crazy, because if, you know, taking him to the vet, it was, oh, you should, here's a set of medication and this and that. And it's like, it kind of, to me, it's like it's counterintuitive, kind of what causes more damage than it does good, you know?
Because then just like a human, you would need another med to cover that med's side effects. And then
is that looking at a quality of life, or are we just masking the symptoms or dulling out the symptoms while reducing, you know, any sort of joy that they might have left. My dog's Mauser's relatively young, but at any time one of those seizures might take her. So what's happening in between those seizures? Is she able to go out and run and play and fetch sticks, or she's zonked out on the couch and just waiting for the next one to come, right? Like that's a huge deal, and not being tied to having to get vet refills that are charging you for $175 checkup fee, and then the $190 for the 1 month course of medication, and then the list of side effects that are included in those medications. There's I'm not generally like a holistic person in that sense. I believe in modern medicine to a degree, but when there are alternatives that can alleviate specific things that we're having difficulty within modern medicine, I'm absolutely always an advocate, even more so when it can be done sustainably at home by ourselves.
Yeah, that's also too the same here as I was like, you have an understanding of the cannabinoids and understanding of what it and how it affects your dog and all that. And so it was nice to be able to know with certainty on what I was doing and not guessworking, or being like, oh, I think this will work, or but having the confidence going is like, oh, I got something. I got something to work. Is Tino in here yet?
She popped in. I saw him there.
Yeah, I'm here.
So,
Just having technical difficulties all night.
Tino, what's up?
It's all good.
Yo, what's up? Barely hear you guys, but yeah, I've been listening.
You out there flying drones?
It kept kicking me out earlier.
Oh, that's messed up. So I was actually in a conversation with Tino yesterday or the day before, and we were kind of talking cure cycles on how the best way of people were curing, and then he had brought up your method, and you brought up a pretty good point and a few questions. So like, can you kind of just take a second and kind of walk through your typical steps of curing?
No.
Me.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, from my perspective, conflate drying and curing as two separate processes when they're generally two sides of the same coin and trying to accomplish the same thing. In drying, we're trying to get our flower down to a safe AW with the least amount of secondary degradation as possible. According to all the studies, and there's a few ones linked on the paper that I wrote about this, but exposure over time dramatically outpaces exposure at temperature at anything above 4 degrees Celsius. So that is to say, you dry your plants at 60 degrees Celsius, you dry your plants at 100 degrees Celsius, there's going to be a small increase in the amount that the 100-degree loses versus the 60-degree loses, but nothing even close to compare to what that 60-degree would lose over a duration of 1 week, 3 weeks, 3 months, a year, right? The exponential loss and degradation just based over time at anything above 4 degrees is, like I said, 30% to all the way up to 50% within the first month of just sort of existing around in ambient temperatures. So that being said, the first goal of drying is to get down to a safe AW, right, as quick as possible while losing as few terpenes and cannabinoids as possible. Once we do that, once we're at our safe AW, the problem is water movement is such that it doesn't really happen in an even and consistent way, right? So
yeah, inside the bud is denser than
now we've got a dry flower that's got moisture either inside or at portions of the flower material and other parts that are dry. So when we're curing, we're trying to get our cure environment to homogenize. We're trying to reach equilibrium between the relative humidity and the flower itself, so that all the water within the flower diffuses to each part of the material to the outside, and the pressure equalizes between the atmosphere and the flower itself, so no more water movement occurs. In order to do this, I try and run it in 2 steps, right? So I try and I have a slightly higher cure temperature to start at we'll say 64 degrees and 62%, somewhere in that range. And then I'll drop. So once the water starts moving, I'll drop the vapor pressure down to slow that water movement, kind of like I'm braking the vehicle at the red light, right? So I'm not going to just stop it all at once. We're going to slow that in a gradient from higher atmospheric pressure in the jar to lower atmospheric pressure in the jar, so that water movement slows until everything equalizes. And a super easy way to do this is we want to be in a safe AW. That's how we range our dried flour, right? So anywhere between 0.56 on the really low range to 0.64 on the high range. So that would be an ideal flour consistency, right? Based on how the specific cultivar is and how you like it to break up. Do you like it a little like sandier feeling, or do you like it to feel a little drier? So there's a range where it's safe and you're still not dehydrating those volatile oils. And if we seal our jar off, let's say we have a mason jar that's 80% full of flour, and we put a hydrometer in there and we seal it off, whatever RH that jar stops climbing at is what our relative humidity equalizes at, meaning what our AW is. So relative humidity divided by 100 is our AW. So if our jar stops climbing at 64% humidity once we leave it in there for 6 hours, then we know that our flour is at 0.64, and it's all safely distributed evenly throughout the flour. And now I'll move it into a preservative condition, which is cold. So essentially 4 degrees or lower.
So 4 degrees or lower is what? Because you're talking Celsius, right?
Correct. Yeah. So 30, what is that? 39?
32.8.
32 something. Yeah.
Or sorry, 39.2. Almost converted it quick enough. Forgot to carry. Yeah. So so what I like about this conversation is there's so many different ways that people on their method and their curing, and it'll be forever an ongoing debate, But I always revert back. What works for you may not work for somebody else, and vice versa. But it's good to hear because
also,
yeah, I like to see everybody getting away from the 60-60 fucking bullshit.
Yes, I was just gonna say everybody tries to keep
But
it the same, but it's tough.
For me, it's like as long as I stick between above 50 and below 70 is where I like to stick. But definitely around the week, 10 days. You don't want to stretch it out for the 3 weeks.
All right, so I'm going to hit you guys to some game real quick. So you take a propane heater, one of the big blowers, right? Because those will actually introduce some moisture that you're losing, right? And then you get a big, huge, fan, probably for big barn, and you just blow it right on it with that heat, and then it'll be, about 6 hours, 7 hours, though it'll be dry to the bone, ready to go, right straight into the bag. And then when you get it there, take it to Lit. He'll spray it for you, and then straight shot to the East Coast.
Oh man, I feel better now.
So many steps.
Like, wait a minute.
Throw it all in the microwave and be done with it. You're fine.
Oh hell no.
Right.
So here's the thing. There was a study done that sort of analyzed 34 secondaries, both sesqui and monoterpenes, and analyzed them at various temperatures that look at degradation rates at those various temperatures. And like I said, what was seen was that
deep carb, yes.
like if you have 100, let's call it 100% total secondary metabolites at the moment you chop the plant down. As soon as you stop chopping them down, the production of those secondary metabolites significantly slows down, and the ones that are already there are starting to degrade. We've got oxidative effects happening from 4 different forces, from light to oxygen to heat to just ambient oxidization from atoms disappearing, right? So what we see that is, yes, 75 degrees will volatilize a few more of that 100% total of secondary metabolites, right?
Yeah.
So over 5 days at 75 degrees, let's say I lose let's make up a number and call it 14% of that 100% total. The 60 degrees will lose only 10% of that 100% total. So if we look at it, the 60 degree lost 4% less than the 75 degrees lost, just based on the cooler temperature. But now, after 5 days, that 75 degree one is done and dried and ready to go into curing, where that 60 degree one still has to sit on the rack for 10 more days and dry out. Like, do you understand what I'm saying here? Is exponentially higher losses based on how long it has to sit there in order to dry down to a safe AW versus.
Yeah, but you're looking at it like at a scientific point of view, but every time I've dried my weed super fast like that, it doesn't come out as good, in my personal opinion. Like, I don't think it's would be considered more like connoisseur type of really good bud. But I mean, maybe you got you don't knock it till you try it. I'm not saying whatever. I'm just saying,
No. Look,
I've tried that. I've tried not flushing. I've tried all those things, and it's just people want to show these scientific numbers instead of showing the bud. That's what's actually better. You know what I mean?
Well, my flower's up there to check out for everybody to see. But my thing, Tino, is we were talking about this sort of before this hopped in live, and what it is that a lot of people will conflate, one thing, let's call it harsh smoke, with the totality of this singular thing that happened in the garden. I didn't flush, or the plants dried too fast. And the fact of the matter is there's so many different variables that will happen at once in order to lead up to that specific problem that people are conflating with, oh, it wasn't dried properly, or it wasn't
right.
flushed. For example, right, like, if I ran a specific ratio of ammonium nitrate too long during my bulk phase, I'm going to get a very different flavor profile that's going to resemble what a lot of that Athena cardboard taste people complain about is, right? You're going to run your that's full of nitrogen, and when I cut it down and dry it, you're going to be like, oh, that's Athena salt. No, it's not. It's the fact that it produce the nitrogen, and right. So there's different things. Like, for example, drying too fast. If I flip a light on that's got a PAR value higher than 4% as I'm drying it too fast, the chloroplasts are activating in those hanging plants, producing chlorophyll instead of degrading them like I'm trying to do when drying, leaving that grassy hay taste, right? So a lot of people are going to say, oh, it's because you dried it too fast. Well, it was because I dried it with the lights on, or whatever other variables.
Right, different variable, yeah.
Right.
That's what you're saying. That's what's so great about the plant too, is because whatever works for you or for me might not. We could both try it and it might not work in our environment or whatever we're doing exactly the same, and that's why so many people come up with so much different things. And that's why I do like your page. I do like the content you put out, because you're not just cookie cutting it 60-60. You're trying different things, and that's what we need. That's where we come from. Home growers. We're the inventors. We started this from doing stuff like you're still doing. And, more people need to do it instead of just this cookie cutter shit that's put out, that's just shoved down their throats that everybody thinks they need to do. And nobody's really trying to do inventive stuff. Nobody's popping a bunch of seeds. Nobody's getting the cuts and pushing cuts anymore. Everybody's getting the same shit and doing the same thing. And it's just like, come on, man. Well, so that's why
I would never push back against. You said, I'm pushing connoisseur grade stuff, and I absolutely know that, and I believe that. One, I've seen the results of all of the work that people produce on your name because of all the work that you've put in. But also, you've been doing this a long time, that what you are doing, you've been able to fine tune those variables because of your hands-on experience. Oh, last time this happened when I did this. This is what's working.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So if you told somebody to go do exactly what you're doing right now in their environment, and they didn't have that same tactile experience, it might come out different. But because you've been hands-on doing what you do for so long, you're able to produce the results you do because you've got it dialed into the fact that where
Oh yeah, it's yeah, definitely, I agree. And people don't realize, like, the light, the median, your environment, everything. I mean, it completely changes how the plant grows. I used to do these grow offs. I would give everybody the same clones and have them bring all the bud back, and we'd look at it be all completely the same. You wouldn't even think it was the same strain. It'd all be different. I mean,
and
it's just to show the different light, different medians, and everything's not going to work for everybody. And that's why I like to hear how it works for you and shit like that. It's pretty cool.
Well, I think it's also it got to be mentioned that a lot of times people will discount a plant or say it's trash because the cure wasn't proper. They didn't dry and cure it properly, and so they're going off of that, not the actual, the capability. You're not getting the full expression of that plant when you have a proper dry and cure.
There's so many. That's the thing about, well, and part of the fun, right? Like there's checkpoints during this process that you can hit or miss that dictate how the rest of everything's going to go up until the very end, right? Like you could have the best run in the world and fuck it all up in a matter of 2 days on your dry or even on your trim or whatever the case is, right? Or you could have a mediocre run that this went wrong and this went wrong, but your environment was still forgiving enough that you produced some absolute fire because the genetics were there and everything just sort of kind of worked out that way. And I've seen it happen, right? Like how many times where you just sort of fuck this whole run, and by the time it was done, like you were pulling off flowers, like holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think I heard Tino actually just talking about something like that happened to him.
Yeah. And it's just that at the end of the day, and it's just a learning experience, and then kind of figuring out what's going to work best for your environment. Because I think that's a tough part too. Is I think different regions, different parts the plant's going to respond different, and it's going to continue to get on a trajectory where it's responding different than if it was whether it's grown in Seattle or if it's grown down in Fresno or Boston or Ontario. There's a lot of these constantly shifting factors and everything.
What I'll say that definitely sort of strengthens Tino position that sounds like a lot of sciencey sort of let me get my hands on and see how that smokes kind of deal is. Most of my information is geared to the idea that you've already have your environment sort of capable of being dialed into where you need it in order to run these very specific on the edge metrics that I talk about a lot, right? Pushing a 10 MSCM PWEC at bulk is like really, really riding a fine line. And if you try to run a 35% dry back at 3 EC, stack it over and over and over, well, your CO2 better be on point. The transpiration rate better be on point. There better be no photo inhibition. Your irrigation strategy better be on point because there's really no room to fail, and you will fail if you're not dialed in. Whereas a lot of the times, there's better methods of inputs and better methodology to do if you're not ready for that level of complexity, if that makes sense, right? So I would much rather somebody starting out in their journey not hop into 1 gallon rock wool cubes, right? A 5 gallon soil pot with perlite will do wonders for you getting your hands dirty and getting a tactile experience while having a lot of forgiveness introduced into your program.
A bunch more forgiveness, but cool. Was I think we're gonna probably definitely do this again here in the next couple of weeks because there's a couple things in particular that I would like to dedicate a full hour to and all that. So that's because we're pushing about an hour and a half now. I gotta get out of here in a minute, but yeah, you down to come back in a couple of weeks?
Literally anytime you'd like to have me, I'm happy to talk shop.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of good stuff to cover. And then also, too, we do this every Thursday. So if you feel like you want to pop in and join or whatever, just hit us up and we'll send you the link. Because there's always something going on, always something cool.
Definitely sounds like something this is kind of right in my wheelhouse. Getting to sit and nerd out on plant talk is one of my favorite things to do. So anytime you have me, I'm happy to be here, like I said.
Our main focus is keep people excited, right? Keep community building, keep people excited and doing cool stuff. There's the comment section. I don't think you can see it, but the comment section, there's a lot of gold that comes out of there with suggestions, ideas, and questions. And so it's a pretty good thing. There's nothing like we don't really have a set like plan or agenda. We just want to get on here and talk some shit and have a good time and talk to people and connect with people. And this is kind of one of the few like where we actually planned and had somebody come on and really went in depth, and I really appreciate it. But I think that there's definitely more to come. I think there's definitely a lot more lot more discussions. And I think that from the chat, they really dug you and really liked you. So definitely want to keep this conversation going.
I very much appreciate everybody who tuned in to sort of check it out. I'm grateful that you want to hear what I have to say, and I'm grateful that you guys are interested in what I'm doing and the direction I'm taking. And thank all of you guys for having me on.
And like In-House said, we definitely will have tons of questions on specific topics that you talked about tonight as well. I know, Boneyard, did you have any questions before anything, or?
Nah, man, I'm just
Boneyard. You've been hitting that pen real good. Every time you do, it's prompted me into a bong rip. So I appreciate you guiding me, my man.
Nah, that was a backwood. I'm getting ready to roll up.
Let's go.
But anyhow, one thing for sure though is we all recognize the work because we all work our ass off too, and it's really cool to see and big props for the amount of energy and effort you put into it because we know that you don't have to do it. You do it because you're passionate and you're doing it for people that you feel that might need the guidance and the help in the process too. So big shout out, big thanks for you.
Hell yeah, I'm about to get on that Jello CT.
Yeah, that's awesome.
CT.
I'm telling you.
Yeah,
We're trying cherry Jello next, guys.
I kind of see that's the thing is that's what I like about it is going into shit like that. In theory, it might work, and then when it does work, you're like, "Oh shit, all right," But it's the willing, it's the chance that that they're more than likely gonna fail, but you still do it anyway. That's what's awesome about it.
I think it's up towards the top there a little bit before you start seeing plant content. You should see some Jello here. Keep going.
Hell yeah,
we're getting there.
Just kind of scrolling the.
Keep a little slow on the scroll.
Hey, yeah, I'm not sure where it is, but I'll put it up there somewhere. If you get the chance, I would recommend going to check it out.
We got this one. I'm pretty sure this is part of it. Yeah, Culture and Jello. Here we go.
That's the guy.
Hey, Bill Cosby gonna get your ass.
All right, so
The Cosby Foundation is coming.
Right. Cosby Nation at you as soon as they figure out the internet.
You can't tell me I'm not growing culture in Jello. See, that's kind of the confidence I'm talking about that might rub some people the wrong way. But hey, I got Jello to grow plants, so I mean, I think it's a confidence earned in that scenario.
Look, you can't.
We're gonna create a Jello.
You can't. Don't be apologetic about confidence. Look, some of the people. I wish I was that confident.
Be an
some
asshole
of the dumb
every chance
shit.
you get in this world.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is don't let anybody shade that shine. Just keep doing it. Right? Hey, I always say this. At least they're watching.
Yeah.
Keep engaging. I'm happy to get to go to do the back and forth with them all day.
Yeah. Also. Tell everybody where they can find you.
So right now I'm only on X at Sharkmouse Farm with no S, and then Sharkmouse the Second on Instagram.
All right, cool.
I have both the links. Here's for everybody to follow. That's the X account.
So yeah, so we'll probably in the next couple of weeks have you come back on. Then we'll go pretty deep on a few things and continue this. This was just good to kind of get the topical stuff out and then start getting a bit deeper and into everything. So
really looking forward to it. And again, guys, thank you so much for having me on. I had an absolute blast.
Yeah, I appreciate the time.
One quick question: how long can cannabis last in tissue culture form?
So you can keep them sort of in an ambient environment between 2 to 4 months before they start to either overcrowd the vessel and need a bigger vessel, or they need to be, on to the next stage, which is either rooting or hardening off into their next medium. Or we can keep them in a colder environment. You can cryo them indefinitely, or you can keep them in a refrigerated environment for months to up to 2 years.
See, that's what I was kind of. I never confirmed that, so I know. Because the refrigerator slows them down, right? If you put them in the refrigerator, I haven't had the balls to put in the cryo freezer yet. you know, right? Like, like I put seeds in the cryo freezer to get microfissures on the seeds, you know, and to help germination. But I've been hesitant to put the cultures in a cryo freezer. You're saying put in a cryo freezer and it's indefinite?
Yeah, indefinite.
Nice.
Yeah, throw some extras in now.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I've read it. I've read it. I've seen people do it. I've seen it. You know, read that. You know, people have done it. You know, I just
thawing.
You know, like
it's the thawing is where the risk lies. Obviously, right?
But that's what I was thinking, because you still have water inside that plant. You're gonna freeze that shit. You know, so. It's kind of like, you remember that movie with Mel Gibson when they froze him and then they dried him out and he aged real quick, and you know, he aged in like a month, you know. That was an old ass movie.
I was thinking Demolition Man in my head.
You know, when you freeze a steak, what's happening is those cells are expanding inside the steak. They're expanding and bursting. That's why a steak always tastes a little mushier than it does when it's fresh, right? Because once you thaw that steak out, all of those cells are completely ruptured. So the steak, it's not as firm and holding together as it would. The same principle applies to any cell with water in. If you can flash freeze it quick enough, it avoids that crystallization process. The problem is when we thaw it, can we get it thawed down quick enough to avoid the same issue?
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. How much? Yeah, I guess by thawing it you wonder if it would have like a lower survival rate, maybe. But I mean, it's rooted. So yeah, would you put it immediately after the culture, or
once the media itself, once your sample's transplanted and the media is cool enough to and set and ready to shelf, I would put it immediately. I wouldn't let it. I wouldn't let it try to begin the process. I would just have it frozen in that sterile stage, ready to begin its in vitro process once thawed.
Okay.
Because we got to remember that throughout the entire in vitro process, there's a phenolic load that's causing biotic stress inside that sample itself, which is why, like you can see that even though the sample's sterile, like you'll see browning and necrosis in some of those leaves. That's not because of abiotic conditions, but because of the phenolic load that's happening inside the plant based on the level of stressors that it's outputting, right? So if we can stop that from happening immediately and get that into cryopreservation state, then we don't begin that clock until it's thawed out and ready to go as if it were day one.
Okay, well, now you mentioned it now, I probably will get I'll probably culture for the end of next week, but I'm gonna do another set. I'm gonna put them straight into the cryo freezer.
Keep me up on that one. I'd love to know how that goes for you.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna actually. You did Jello. Let's do pudding next, right?
You said pudding.
Good. We can get it nice and firm too. Yeah, that'll work. Sugar. It's got everything it needs. A little bit of coconut water, and we're off to the races. Okay, but I'll leave it to you.
Shark, where you at, in Canada?
Yeah, I'm in Ontario.
Shit, he's safe from Bill Cosby. You don't have to move in the house.
Yeah.
You playing with the
I'll probably get to it weekend after next. We got Labor Day weekend coming up, and then I'm not really gonna do another round of clones until next week anyway. So, but yeah, I definitely think I'm gonna try that, because ideally, what I would like to do is probably at some point create like a genetic bank where you can confidently hold and store genetics. I mean, just amongst our group and our network of people, right? If other people wanted to join in, they can. One time I mentioned it, and people were like, "Oh, you're just trying to steal genetics, right?" So I was like,
"Oh gosh,
like fuck! I'm just trying to preserve everything and keep everything legit."
I'll let you in on a little secret. One of my next sort of projects or goals is to build like almost like a humidor or a wine cellar, where it's going to be, very nicely presented, almost something you'd want to have if you were like a rich person. Oh, I wish I had, just a a nice humidor with different plant selections that I'd want to put around my Hollywood mansion. Like the idea to normalize having this tissue culture, this sort of tissue culture strain with, you know, exotic different flavors and different phenos that have been hunted from around the world, and make it a very, very sort of its own culture in itself, right? Like the same way you would have the wine connoisseur have a very elegant wine selection in their home in a wine fridge. Why not have a culture fridge where this is what I'm going to pull for my next run? It's from in-house genetic selection XYZ, right? And be able to pull, you know, your own variety from, you know, not just
I want this flavor.
On that tip, though, like one of the things that I would love to do in my, you know, at some point is to go, you gain and you have enough trust where people are hunting something, but they want it preserved or they want it held up. And then kind of like a humidor or a big crowd freezer you walk into, and I go and I pull a set of vials off of the shelf, right? And it's got, say, here's the General Garbo cut of XYZ strain, right? And then it's got the little QR code for that you just scan, and it's got, you know, the picture of it, the testing, all that stuff. But it was something that that person hunted out or whatever. So you're holding it kind of like a, you know, like a genetic kind of library. But
you remember the lab at Jurassic Park?
Yeah. Well, the reason why I have this idea that's crazy as shit is because when I look at my social media feeds, I have some of the most talented growers on the planet that I follow and that follow our pages, right? So it's almost like if I could have tens of thousands of, you know, of cultures, right? So that way, when, you know, General Garbo takes a break from, you know, growing and then hits back a couple of years, hey, I'm, you know, pulling out the lights again and get going. Like, oh yeah, no problem. I got you. Let me get you a couple of those vials out, you know? But it's like you're creating a database, so you're keeping an open IP, keeping it open for the people. You get what I'm saying?
Almost blockchain, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what?
Like a physical
like
blockchain.
Yep.
Yeah, because what they have is they got the seed bank out in the middle of the Arctic or whatever, right? So that's where all the seeds, you know, there's a big huge seed vault out there, right? So it's something similar to that, but it's just, I think you have enough people to, you know, to garner something really, really cool and really big. It
takes a 30-watt full spectrum clone light to keep, let me do the math here, 1,300 a shelf.
1,300.
You know, it's like it would be something where it's a vault for the people by the people kind of vault, you know?
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like you can incorporate it wouldn't be you know, restricted to I'm going to keep this keeper from this breeder and this keeper from this grower. Like you said, you know, I can incorporate, you know, this is all of Canada's keepers on one shelf, and this is all of Europe's keepers on another shelf. Each shelf containing 5,000 very different phenotypes from different people, all in thousands.
Yeah, and I think it's something where then you have a library that goes to that, right? And then that way you can scan the QR code. It takes you to the library, but you're giving the credit of the person that hunted it, that found that particular phenotype, you know?
So because the most important part here that we glanced over, and I know we're running low on time, but is the fact that you can take off one mother plant, say 20 cuts at a time at the best of times in a normal indoor like mom plant that's 3 feet tall before you start stressing it out. So we take 20 cuts and we root those, and now we've got to wait another 2 weeks to take 20 more cuts. So there's 40 cuts. With one explant, if I sub that explant in 4 weeks, I can take four samples off one explant, and now I've got four explants in 4 weeks, and in four more weeks I've got 32 explants, and from that 32, exponential, and exponential. So by the time you can get 100 clones off your one mom plant, I've got 10,000 samples ready to roll.
Yeah, I don't know. We might have to get a people's vault going. So the tough part about that is would make it completely voluntary, you know, because like I don't care if you would send your culture in or not. You get what I'm saying, right? So if you sent it in, we'll preserve it, we'll protect it. But outside of that, like you get people being like, oh, you're just trying to do this, you're trying to do that, and it's like, well, whatever. Yeah, we had this conversation a couple years ago, and it just got too much. Where I was like, fuck that, I don't want to mess with that shit at all. I don't want to deal with that dumbass shit.
How great would it be to just be able, as a grower, to have a repository of all your favorite things throughout your entire journey, where you could be like, hey, you know what, I like that from that run. Hey, Brandon, can you hit me up with that from the vault or whatever? Boom, gone.
Yeah, well, I think it's what you do though is you get because the thing is, it takes a lot of trust. So you'd have to find somebody else you trust, because you want to have somewhat of a backup plan, right? You know, and then but I think in the grand scheme, in the long term, right, when MSOs take over the vast majority and you're left with just the Coors Light and the Budweiser, you have this Volt to really turn everything on its head, you know, right? Imagine if you still had, you know, all the saplings from those apples or the corn or whatnot. Like, there used to be, you know, hundreds of different varietals of corn. Now we're down to 3, right? You know, 2 or 3. If you really want to get into like the exotic ones, you got to get out onto a reservation to get a different kind of corn outside of the corn that we think we
depends on where you
that
are
we know.
reservation.
That's not to mention if your spot gets knocked and you lose all your work, right? At least now your work's here sitting in a pile somewhere.
Well, that's what we started doing with the seeds that we've collected over the years, stuff that we've created and all that. We started taking the same vessels for the tissue cultures, and then doing extra protection on those. So we started building boxes that are pretty much humidors, right? That climate controlled no matter what, and then storing them that way to preserve them and get them long lasting. So that way, even if something happens and it's hooked up to a generator, so even if it loses power, those things don't lose power. So it would have to be far negligent, you know, like a situation, far negligence in the sense that you don't fill the gas tank up, you know, in the generator and everything gets too hot or whatnot, you know. But I don't know, man. Like, these are the kind of conversations that I like, because we finished up a great conversation, and at the end we were like, oh, we're kind of aligned on some of the same idea, you know, like maybe we should look a little bit closer at this.
Yeah, well, I'm in for that idea. If you like, you know, it's something that we could evolve and build out
Tino, you're here still?
over various conversations, but definitely something that's workable and would add a whole lot of value to our industry as a whole, not just individually.
Yeah. To Uncle Lemur, I stand by the cannabis religion. That would have worked out. That would have worked out great. That was one of the best ideas I think I've had in a while. The Volt and the People's Vault, the feedback on social media and the haters, it was just like, it was way too much than it was worth, you know? So I was like, we'll just do it out of necessity and figure it out on our end, and then maybe bring it up later. Comes to find out, it took a couple years of bringing it up later, you know?
The voluntary side of it is like going to be the huge thing. It's going to be a trust thing at that point. So it's like, if people aren't willing to do that with you, knowing that, you know, you can be pretty trustworthy.
Well, it's like,
fuck them, right? Fuck them.
I mean, from my perspective, you know, I don't sell seeds. I don't sell, you know, I sell nothing. I have no monetary sort of interest in people's work in that sense. You know what I mean? Like, that would never be something that would even cross my mind. You know, getting to have access to a library for my own personal use would be phenomenally selfish. But I also, you know, I think people sending me all their phenos from all over the world, you can be damn straight, I'm at least going to run them for myself to smoke.
Well, the running is one thing, but I think on our end, I can see the hesitation, because it would be immoral. It wouldn't be correct. It wouldn't be right if we started breeding with it. You know, if you're given something, right? And
we had
and all that. So yeah, it's a little bit different if you're given something compared to if you did an exchange. That's why I always like when with plants and stuff like that, it's like, let me give you something, a trade or an exchange or whatever, because I don't want to hear, oh, I gave you that kind of thing. You know, there's got to be some sort of an exchange or some sort of understanding on it. You know.
Yeah, so we're not coming back around 6 months later with a different perspective than we each had coming into it. For sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like I've given plants just nilly-willy, but I just know, like, when they come my way, it's like I got to know exactly what what's attached to this plant moving forward, and also too, like we
Your soul.
You're so
yeah, right. Well, it was like also too, if we use something and you don't tell us, right? Like, you know, I snuff it out. I don't clone off of it. So like when we do collabs and stuff, you know, we don't keep it around after we're using it, right? Because then you don't
It's not gonna end up in another unnamed project down the road. This was
yeah, well, like
output.
yeah, I did a cross with Boneyard, and then he's like, "Oh, you still got that?" And I was like, "No, I just ran it. You didn't tell me to keep it." You know, like a lot of times people will say, "Yeah, clone it or sit on it or hold on to it," and then you know, but I guess in a sense, it takes a lot of trust and it's a big huge embarkment. I just don't know how deep I want to get into it, but I do really like the People's Vault idea. Might have to explore that a little bit more.
Well, yeah, and again, that nothing ever has to be done, you know, entirely without additional resources at hand, right? Like I'm certain that we could help delegate around various aspects of this that would make it easier on everybody, right? Or whatever it is, I'm sure it would work out to be something that would add value for everybody, and not as opposed to being a hindrance just for existing. Like I've had plenty of projects that I've embarked on that ended up just being a pain in the ass for being a pain in the ass sake. Like, well, you know, happy to cull that at the neck when necessary, right? So you just work through it and see how it evolves, and if there's value there, then you keep rolling with it.
Oh, hey, you guys, I'm on TV.
I'm on TV.
I did a Pigeons 420s podcast, and it's airing today.
There you go.
And so, yeah. So you guys go from here, head over to Pigeons 420 if you want to see some more of me.
You want to see some more?
So they're like, nah, man, I'm sick and tired of this, seeing this. Hey, Darkmouth, appreciate the time, man. Appreciate the work. I'm gonna get out of here. Twisted, you want to do a giveaway or double it up next Thursday?
We can double up next Thursday. That works.
Yeah, let's double it up next Thursday.
Gonna come back, you know.
Okay, cool. And big shout out to the chat. You guys are always awesome. Thanks for everything. I'm gonna get out of here. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, Shark Mouse. I'll talk to you guys later.
Hey,
Later.
These guys.
you don't have to leave because in-house leaves though. Like, fuck. He wanted a spot to hang out. In-house just kicked in. He's like, fuck it.
I had a few questions.
Yeah, I still have some more questions. Bring it back.
I was trying to throw it out there. Ask your questions, you know.
Bring it back. In-house ran him off. He was like, fuck, I want to hang and shit, smoke some more weed.
Right.
So, I mean, I got a couple grows here that people sent we can look at real quick.
Oh, let's go.
You know, we always like to look at people's stuff.
He's not in the back room still anymore?
Nope, nobody's in here.
Damn.
Send it back to him.
That's fine.
All right, so we got Don Williams. Oops.
I wanted him to
When you open, you son of a gun. There we go. There we
I
go.
wanted him to know that Tino did not introduce him to Twisted. I was the one who was the first one to
Yes. I'll proudly say that all the time.
Damn. In-house just gave Tino all the credit. You want to thank Tino?
Look at Don's greenhouse, man.
Let
That
me get a
40-foot long greenhouse fucking raised an extra 2 feet or so.
Tino no name Little Caesar. He came in this bitch hot and ready.
He said, I'm ready.
That motherfucker is about to touch the ceilings.
Yeah, I think he's probably what, week 3, 4?
Hell
Three-ish?
nah.
Not even.
Probably
Like
week
3-ish.
two.
Some of them got thicker stuff on them, so it looks like some hit it earlier, like that right there
Yeah.
on the right.
He gonna have to
That
raise that
motherfucker.
motherfucker.
That motherfucker's on week 1. That motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah. In the back.
That motherfucker bent over at the top.
Damn, you got a couple more weeks of stretching, Don. I hope you're ready. You might be raising that bad boy again.
Oh yeah.
Pull the motherfuckers down.
Yep. Hey, I done found success with that though. Pull the motherfuckers clean down.
Yeah, you see, he had to raise that thing already.
See that one right there?
Like,
See
I
them
see
big
the bottom.
ones? I cut
Yep.
the whole middle out of them bitches.
or just fucking bend them down.
Yep.
I'd bend them down. That's what I would do. I'd just bend that sucker, super crop it,
Yeah.
turn that 2 or 3 heads into like 5 or 10. That's greenhouse though. Outside, I just let
There's
it go.
no support around that big ass shit right there.
Not yet. I'm sure, man.
Yeah,
I don't even know if Don's here
waiting for?
still. So
Yeah,
What
that
are you
motherfucker.
waiting for? You gonna knock buds off and everything trying to cage that big bitch.
Let's see if anyone else sent theirs. I don't have any others at the moment. Oh, I thought somebody else sent theirs, but that's not what that was. Oh wait, here we go. Hang on. We gotta open this in a separate thing. Hang on. Bam. Open this. Open this. We go top. All right, Sheena in the tent.
There you go. Blanket a bud. Fill that motherfucker out.
How many plants is that?
Just 2 plants?
I'm not sure. Sheena, are you here with us?
I think that's 2
Doesn't-
plants.
I don't know if she says it, but it looks like it could be 3, honestly. I could be wrong. But it looks like it might be a triangle of pots down there.
I think that's a fan.
Yeah, actually, it might be 2 plants, kitty cornered, diagonal.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to check the algorithm and see who left once you said no giveaways. I'm making a wish.
Oh, I keep hitting the wrong shit.
It looked like 2 plants though. That should look
No,
good.
I think it is. I think you're right. It looks like a pot there and a pot here.
Yeah. She got that motherfucker. Them motherfuckers pimped clean out indoors. That shit gonna look crazy. I wish she was in here. I want to know what kind of light she got.
You want to know what she's got?
Mm.
I believe in there. She got that one from me. It's fucking Indian. Indian. It's the Indian light. Indian light. What the hell
Say
is it called?
my name.
I forget the name of it.
I don't know how to say it.
That's divine.
Say that last name, dog.
Iris Aries. Iris
Uh,
Aries. Let me know if far out you know how to get in touch. Iris Aries. Trying to get it out of the fucking video. There we go. So I'm gonna go. I think this way maybe. Is it this one?
That's divine. What you doing in here, man? Your name tell it all. You got them things. Holla at me on that other account.
It's a twisted. That need more Eddies.
Let me see where we're at. Trying to see if I'm going the right way. Okay, so that is Platinum Berry Kush. I don't think Sheena's in here at the moment. That is Honey Fried Banana.
Them shit's big as fuck back
Look
there.
at that. They're thick.
Yeah.
Is that an auto?
That's what it looks like, right? The way the buds are growing on it. Oh, where is it?
Well, I was just looking at the other plants around. Maybe she started it, but I would figure everything else would have
There's
same.
Psycho Cindy. These are actually, that is bred by Leaf Cycle. He was in here in the comments earlier.
Twisted, how your shit looking with that cold though?
How's mine looking? All right. It's not doing
I'm
bad at
talking
all.
about how bad the weather been.
No, they're looking pretty good.
It ain't getting freezing yet, motherfucker.
I mean, it was like 42 here
Man,
this
40
morning.
cold. So I'm playing. I
Yeah,
don't have plans to give up.
especially since it's,
Still
you
got
know what I mean? Everything gets wet and damp, and then the cold hits it, and it might as well be freezing.
Gotta blow that shit off with a leaf blower.
Yep.
It's been raining here for 3 days.
Yeah, it rained here a couple days ago. It's been on and off.
Go out there and shake that motherfucker.
Let's see what else we got here. What's that?
Shit, I got on a hoodie and a jacket.
Man, I got on shorts and a t-shirt with the air conditioner blowing like a
Go
motherfucker.
ahead and rub it in, huh? Okay.
It's
Motherfucker was like, we had a
7:30
beautiful summer.
at night.
This is
Motherfucker
Julio.
said it was hot this summer. I said, you delusional
Send
as
some
fuck.
pics,
I don't
alright.
remember that
Send
shit.
pics. Thank you guys. I'll show them off real quick. You know, we got to show you stuff if you send them in. You know, I just feel obligated. So this is Julio.
Siempre con el tiro arriba, buscando el pan para la familia.
I'm fucking with your music, but it's gonna get me hit.
No nos importa perder la vida. Traigo
Dang.
Oh, you the plug. I can translate that well.
Okay,
Nice
Julio.
full garden. What he got in there? He ain't got no trellises. He ain't got no poles. What's his
I don't
support
think so.
looking like? Support gonna matter. You need something.
And I don't even think Julio's in here right now. Pull this
What
out
do
of the
you
way.
have? 7 gallons?
That's what it looks like.
He
It looks like
got a space. He already got like full. The whole thing is already full. Is it flowering right now?
yeah, they definitely look like they're flowering. Okay, Cindy.
Whole thing filled up in there.
Hold up, you got some Cindy, them big ass outside
Got
plants
this
bigger than her?
Does this picture right here? What you got going on here, Cindy? Which ones are these?
Yeah. Next season, Twisted selling pond water.
We're gonna jug it up. I'm gonna start jugging this year. I'm gonna fucking throw it in the fridge.
Right. Throw it in the cryo. It's gonna last forever.
That's the strawberry bonbons. Okay.
Then we're gonna send it out. You gotta let it dry 2 days at 100-degree temperature. And then it's ready. It's fermented, ready to go. Hey, Twisted, what you feed your fish though?
Cheerios and fucking cereal and shit like that.
Oh my god. Stop poisoning the fish, Twisted.
He said stop poison. It's better than the fish food that you fucking. That shit is gross.
Man, let's get them some worms and shit. Throw the mixes in there.
Throw some rabbit shit in there.
What'd you say? Some rabbit shit?
Yeah, some rabbit turds.
Oh my god.
All right, so we got Doug
Full
here.
circle.
That shit'll probably be fire for some fish.
Full circle.
Koi fish and shit. Probably, fucking
I remember I had a rabbit.
Fuck is it? There we go. All right.
My mama ate
Got
that
Doug.
mother.
Doug got a permanent marker out there. Here's my little clicker. Where you at? Nope, that's not it. Man,
Cindy, them plants look good over there.
there we go.
It's raining over there by you, Cindy. Definitely raining.
Neville's Diesel.
Gorilla grow.
For real. You got the Neville's Diesel. He's got the Platinum Berry Kush.
Motherfuckers flushed. They look happy. Look like they eating good. You need a little defoliation. Open them sights up. Let the sun do it through.
Jelly sickle. Jelly sickle. A name. We got next.
But you see what he said? Rabbit shit diluted, mixed in builders. Saying back in the day, took 4 cops to pull my babies.
Future number 1. What's this? That's pretty out there, huh? Well, Blackberry Runts Auto. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's where autos belong. Outdoors. Let's go. See?
Rabbit
See
shit.
what the sun do for the motherfuckers, y'all.
For my babies. Woo.
Imagine if he'd have topped that motherfucker in LST outdoors. He'd have about a pound. I'm telling you. One time. That's see, auto's real craft. You could never get that back. Auto is really a one of one.
Ah, man, you got your boy got that new root tack. What do you mean?
Autos is really a one of one. I wasn't listening to this shit.
You gotta talk to Twisted.
I said, fuck it, Sarah. Let's play over here.
Not me. Not me. I heard him in one of y'all live.
I'm talking about Ken and Granny.
Oh.
Twisted.
Oh, what? Canogram need a wrench? Is that what she's saying? Wrench me?
Oh, man.
Whoa.
Hold up. We got wrenches in here? Whoa, whoa, whoa.
He said, whoa, 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 whoa. Uncle Lemur got a wrench. All right. Canogram was the first to ask. She's going to get it.
Oh, Canogram got it. Let's go.
Shabam. And then let's see. Oh, I got to bring it back so I can see you guys. And right here, you got some close up of some purple trikes. See, that worked out all right, Doug. Just stuck his phone up to the whatever the jeweler loop thing you want, whatever the hell.
Yeah, I used to do that shit 5 years ago. Like, try to hold steady and hold that shit at the same time.
Oh yeah, I told him I was like, it's a bitch, but you'll get it. You'll get it.
Took,
I've done it too.
Took 90 pictures. Took 90 pictures to get one.
For real.
That's why you got to take the video, and then once you get the video, you can
go in. Got the new iPhone.
Make your own shit.
Listen, if you got the new iPhone, they got this app on there that do that shit for you the right way.
Just like a trike finder, trike tracker.
That shit crazy.
Trike tracker, I think it's called.
I watched that motherfucker pull that shit up. He was outdoors. He's pulling this shit for Verizon. He's like, the only reason I bought this phone is because of this big ass phone, nothing but trikes coming through the screen. Like, okay, so I got to get an iPhone. Huh? I'm just waiting on
iPhone. It ain't on the iPad.
It's only on that new phone.
It's a certain phone.
Available. Yes, it ain't available on
our iPad's got the shittiest cameras on them, I swear. I hate my iPad camera.
That shit crazy.
Oh wait, Quan sent the video. I just seen it over on IG.
Shit, they might have a app for it on them products y'all got. Shit, you gotta look for it. But I know this shit came with the phone that he bought.
Okay, Quan.
Close your DMs down. You got everybody read your
It's all open. I mean, what can I do though? That's how I got to show it.
Twisted. They just seen my real name in there, man. God damn it!
He said they see my real name in there.
Damn it! 5 minutes out. Just don't swat me, y'all.
Got to zoom in on that motherfucker.
What he got in there?
You got to close that side down.
I know. I got seriously. Everything's just
close it over, like stretch it over.
If it just listened to me like that. All right, I'm closing it. Goodbye.
It's funny now how nobody
Magnifying
says
glass
her
on my
BS.
phone. Do you think that would
Motherfuckers at
work?
home on their
Take care-
TVs.
Jazz,
Motherfuckers at home.
you just
They
gotta
seen
try
that.
it. That's all you can do is try it.
That shit was on full screen.
Right. On the TV,
Funny
that
how
shit.
nobody-
big
He
as
said
fuck.
it's full screen.
Funny how nobody reports her BS.
Yeah, who cares?
Hold on, there's some people in here that care. They like, hold on, this some smoke.
What's that? You got to be in that chat
about?
to see that shit. Whatever chat that's in, it's in.
Man,
B,
y'all
what up?
better join. Killer B said he needed ribs. Bill Taylor said he needed ribs. They said, man,
Wait,
we're
I just threw. Hang on. No.
they
fuck
rinsed
around.
out. They want to
There's
rinse.
the three. There's the three right there. I had three in my head to give out. There's the three. So bam,
Rinsing it out, huh?
there we go. We got
Nah,
three
man,
wrenches
we gotta
added
do
to
it
the
like spooky,
blowing
man.
trees. What up,
Y'all
blowing
gotta
trees?
be in here 19 hours to get a wrench in one sitting.
There's someone I could see. You know, we were talking about tissue culture earlier. There's somebody right there I could see getting into it, man. I'm surprised he hasn't yet. Blowing trees.
Blowing trees. He ain't blowing no trees, though.
All right,
Blowing
some dude.
trees or what? Where the trees at, man? Let's blow some trees, man. Blowing trees, what's happening, boy?
He's
Bill,
got
you already got the wrench, man.
No, I really don't need a wrench.
With the wrench, man. It's over for you.
Bill, you got a wrench, man. Fuck that. You called it.
You wrenched out, Bill.
Yeah,
So I have
you
to
got
say
a
about-
wrench. It's too late for that.
That boy said that's all I have to say about that.
I'm gonna say hashtag the yard.
Yeah, that should be rolling at every live. I'll be dying laughing like the yard. Let me hit the yard up. What you got over there? The yard.
You
All
said
right.
what?
What are we
Hey.
doing for a hashtag today? Just home growers or something else? What are we doing?
Shit, whatever you want to put up in there.
I'll just put home growers.
Hashtag twisted.
I do enough of those.
We doing 5 giveaways for Spooky since he ain't here. You just give him the names of all the winners, and then he got to send them their shit.
She said I'm unwrenchable. What the fuck?
Hey, and 18 for Tino.
Can't remember the last time I haven't. Let's go blowing trees. Blow them trees.
Where the fuck did Little Caesar go? See, that's some bullshit.
I think blowing trees needs to get some BYG in his garden. I don't know if he
He
has
might
any.
got some.
I was gonna say he better.
He might got some. I don't know. He be around. I don't know though. It's a few people out there with them platinum woofles though, man.
Man, you sent them to Mark. Mark, I gotta send him them damn seeds I made. He wanted to give away.
Marks.
Yeah. But he said he was waiting on that platinum woofle too. he said, man, I could pop them both. I said, you finna have some shit over there, boy.
He said, of course I have.
Right.
Serve. Platinum woofle.
Man,
For a trade.
it's all right. I ain't get it.
It's all right.
I'm gonna find out who
That
did.
just means God didn't want you to have that right now.
Here we look. I'm gonna find out who did. I already got J Bro on it. I'm telling you.
Everybody popping it already.
Oh, Family Massacre for a pack of seeds. See what you made me do? Look. Send J Bro through, man. You remember? J Bro was crazy, man. Listen, I'm gonna tell you, right? Listen. Well, I'm on here for about 3 years fucking with all these motherfucking crazy motherfuckers. Hey, fuck it, man. Cannabis legal now. All right. They're giving a carnival here, right? This shit was out in the sticks in the cornfield, and they had it blocked off with big ass gates, like stadium gates. and they had food trucks with all edibles. They had a fucking ATM in the middle of the field and like 100 vendors. Like,
He said an ATM in the middle
of the fucking cornfield. So I get out there and I'm just stuck. Like the line wrapped, all these people parked on the side of the cornfields for miles walking, standing in this line. I went through the VIP because this mad motherfuckers from here I'm meeting there. So Jay Bro, one of them. Man, I kid you no lie. I get in this motherfucker with Jay Bro. He like, I was the first person in line. I got to ring the bell and I won a dab hit off the rig. So this motherfucker pulls out his book bag like, don't worry, we good. This motherfucker got that thing in there broke down. I said, you can take out everybody else. Hey, yeah, I said, your ass tripping. So ever since then, you know, send them on missions.
Platinum Wolf was gonna be fire. Let's
That's
go.
a good friend to have, man. We was all right. Hey, yo, I'm in that motherfucker dressed like Tino. Had the Tino garb on with the mask and everything.
He said,
Then I get to one table why they got Tino seeds and his flour. I said, oh my God.
He might pull up on you, Mark. He might. You know,
he said,
That
look at
motherfucker-
my address now.
that motherfucker ain't driving nowhere. He ain't coming.
Man, he on the mountain now. It's over.
You over there though. Shit, what you giving away, Twisted?
Some beans or eats, one or the other. They can
Beans
choose.
or eats?
We got 16 entries and we got 36 watching. Let me see what we got over. We got 26 people in there and 10 bots over on Litz X.
10 bots.
Not bots, man. You ain't give me those. You know what I mean? Look, I ain't get them from you.
I ain't
Not
seen,
me. No.
Hey, look, I ain't seen one comment yet on that motherfucker. Man. Hold on.
You won't see
Me.
the comments from
I
over there. Man.
commented. I commented.
Don't
over
worry
there.
about my friends on X, man.
Don't worry about my.
They show up. That's all that
X-
matters. And they
The
stay
X
to the
comments
end.
don't pull up over here.
He
You
said
heard
they
me? They
show
show
up.
up and they stay to the end, man.
I
Worry
don't
about
see
my
no
people.
X comments though. Let me see some X comments. Anybody that's on X comments so we can see.
I don't even
Okay,
see how y'all can see all that shit. I don't see none of that shit.
I see it on the screen right now. See how
Right
Twisted
there.
got an X next to
Cindy
it?
Paul. Okay, Cindy.
Okay, you over there at Lit's house?
Oh, see? There we go. We booming. Tired of y'all shit. Cindy, they called y'all bots. See there? And they be twisted. You see that shit?
I called
Oh.
myself a bot, right? That's because I have a window open with everybody's live that's on. Like I have your YouTube and Boneyards. YouTube's still open. When I shut it down in StreamYard, I shut it down over there, and I was like, I'm just gonna leave them running.
Shut
Yeah.
it down.
X all right, man. X is like Sodom and Gomorrah on 30.
Right. No, I like X, man. I like it. You can go on there. There's a lot of
I
shit
like
you
it
can
ain't no
plan.
restrictions, man. That's why
That's-
one boy was saying who lost pages. I'm looking like, man, you don't know the pain, buddy.
Yeah, for real.
You said 2 pages, man. Get that little, put that little motherfucker down. Don't shoot that little motherfucker again, man. Okay, 2 pages. Shit, I lost that in one night while I was asleep.
Man.
Got so bad, I made a logo with a phoenix. Burn this bitch down and start over the
He
bottom.
said a logo with a phoenix.
Listen,
Beans or eats? Beans
Man.
or eats?
my
Yes.
one main page, right? I
There's
went
only
like,
18 entries.
Hashtag home growers.
18 entries. And there is 26 people. So that means there's 8 people, but technically 19 people that are just lurking.
They don't care about no beans or eats. They want some money, huh?
how you getting your money?
Tell them we about to hit that cash app. We about to hit somebody's cash app, man. We got the home growers, man. Get
Fuck
them-
that. Hit my cash up. Hit my memo.
I got
I'll send you some beans or eats.
I got you. Who want to eat these beans?
Yeah, see, Terp, you got to go on. You got to stop looking at that
Listen.
shit, man.
Hey, yeah, I'm trying to
You
find
can
and
hit
see.
hide stuff like this or whatever on them posts. That way, you only get stuff you want to see. You got to kind of feed your own algorithm into it. Follow the
Hey,
people you want to follow, and then it'll be nothing but weed after. Like, it's nothing but weed for me. Every now and again, I see guns because I've looked at a couple of them, so it knows.
I think
He likes
Shark.
weed.
I think Shark could take a flower plant, like a bud, and remake that motherfucker.
I don't know.
I got this.
Would it be dried out or would it be fresh? I could see fresh, maybe. Like,
Yeah, you could probably do it off a fresh one, maybe.
my dog is running around like a weirdo up there.
Because it still got some life in it. If it's dry.
Yeah.
Motherfucker done got into the eats. Listen, I had 2 Shih Tzus, right? My first daughter mother was like, I want a dog. I'm like, fuck it. Broad I work with got Shih Tzus for sale. I just bought 2 of them. Fuck it. First night I get these little motherfuckers. We had the fucking chairs where the fucking it roll over, like the bottom of the chairs is like cast iron and it's got like a spiral in it. Why this little motherfucker, tiny as hell, get his throat stuck on the spiral?
Going in on the upper and
first night, man, these little motherfuckers was tiny then, right? So then next thing I know, these little motherfuckers running through the house 100 miles an hour nonstop. These little motherfuckers done drunk some Pepsi and went in the overload. Like, I said, what the fuck? They wouldn't stop moving. They was running. That Pepsi done gave the dogs ADHD. Like, that shit, I said, don't get no animals, no Pepsi. I'm telling you. Especially no little motherfucker.
All right. 30-second timer. Can't even hit the button. It's not working. All right.
Right. It would be everything on this planet, right? The aliens on the way because of Tino. Like,
it's all
like all this shit. Like, they found him. Shit. Tino, the reason they covered up all the black history of Egypt. You know, where the
he said he's the reason. He's the reason. Is that what makes him the Turkish warlord? Oh shit!
Tino, the reason the Spanish people don't know they Spaniards when it's the same thing. Oh my god!
I'm Spanish. Yeah, it's Spaniard.
No, you motherfuckers came on that boat. Listen, they ain't no like that's why they treat motherfuckers like this. Like this shit, motherfuckers. Man, listen, y'all do a real history lesson, not that shit they taught y'all in school. These little kids different nowadays. They don't even believe that bullshit. They be reading shit like this don't sound right, daddy.
But that's like, not what they told me.
Like, this don't make no sense.
All right, here we go. Some beans or some meats.
Whoa. We didn't rig it. God damn. Y'all done spoke that shit up right there.
Blowing trees.
Congrats, bro.
Blowing trees.
These kids different, man. I'm telling you. They don't want that. Listen. These kids want to know everything. Like, why we ain't went back to the moon yet? I'm looking like, little motherfucker, what is you talking about? Like, daddy, they ain't went back. We done been there. Why wouldn't they go back?
Hit me up, blowing. You know my number.
Hit him up, blowing.
Hit me up, blowing.
Man, I gotta go eat, man. I'm starving.
I gotta do the same thing.
Hey, see, because y'all was slipping, right? See, this where y'all fucked up at, right? This is why I still be having energy at this point. Y'all listening?
Go
this
start a live, motherfucker.
Nah, but this the secret, right? Listen, you know when In-House was talking to old boy, right, and they was just at it, and then before Tino even came, I would have made something to eat because I knew I wouldn't even been able to
I was busy sharing out the live, trying to make sure everyone knew where to go in the right chats from where they were. Like, I actually had something when we were in the middle of not going on yet. I had
I done
pizza.
got high.
I'm
I
going
done
up to
ate.
have some
I'm getting
more.
high again. Shit.
Hey, I got shit cracking. I got steaks and shit. So,
See?
Man.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining. Lid said he's going live on IG. Keep an eye out.
you going
Oh,
to
let's
IG
go.
or
Let's
X?
go. Oh,
You going to IG or X?
IGX Live, stupid. I can't
All right.
add y'all. I can add.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
weird. StreamYard you can, but not in X Direct.
Yeah, that shit weirdo.
It is weird.
Start the live, huh, Bill Taylor? Tell him again. Go start the live.
Go start the live.
Man, I'm
See?
high, motherfucker. Right.
He said, I don't even know if I can.
Oh,
start
now
the
you ain't got no energy. I thought you just said, man, right when I got all this energy, y'all want to end this.
Listen,
Y'all hear it.
I'm
Bullshit.
tomorrow. Man.
All right, everybody. We'll see y'all later.
All right, y'all. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Peace.
We'll see you next week.